Hi there, this is Alvin from Dr. Wealth. Today I want to talk about a very interesting stock called AMTD Digital. Why so? Because it is a stock that just recently IPO less than a month ago, and yet the share price has gone up 7,000%. Okay, that is quite ridiculous. So we are all interested to find out what it is going on. And in fact, at one point in time, it hit a high of $2,555. Now it's at 1,100. So it actually dropped quite significantly. So, at one point in time, if you bought an IPO, you could have been sitting on a 15,000% return in a span of 2 weeks. That's super amazing, right? So, is this the hot stock that everyone should be jumping on? Or, this is just another pump and dump kind of things that you should be avoiding, okay? So, the case in point, or the company that we are focusing on is AMTD Digital. Understand that there are quite a few companies with the same similar name. So AMTD Digital is the one that has just IPO in 15 July 2022, right, with the ticker HKD listed in NYSE. There is a parent company, right, the parent of AMTD Digital, which is AMTD Idea Group. Previously, they were known as AMTD International, right? So now they are known as AMTD Idea Group. They have two listings, one in Hong Kong, one in US, HKIB, and one in Singapore in the ticker HKB. Okay, so there's a parent company and it is listed as well. And in turn, this AMTD Idea is a subsidiary of AMTD Group. And that AMTD Group is a privately held company. It is not listed in any stock exchange. And it was established in 2003 by CK Hutchison. So CK Hutchison is, of course, the company that's owned by Hong Kong's richest man, Li Ka-shing. And that is how this EMTD get a kind of relationship and connection. And I think that is what piqued some of the investors' interest into EMTD itself. But understand that we are focusing on EMTD Digital. But before we go to that, I want to also share with you that EMTD Idea Group share price have also gone up, but not as much as EMTD Digital, right? The reason is probably because, especially the one that's listed in US, right? You can see that the one listed in US, let just blow it up for you, right? The one listed in US has gone up 458% in the past 1 month, while the one the equivalent stock, okay, but it's listed in Singapore, has gone up just 2% in the past 1 month. So who is telling the truth? Right? So I would say that the reason is probably because of EMTD Digital that's listed in US, and some people might just type the wrong name and they thought that this EMTD Idea is the one that's supposed to push it up, right? Like a meme stock, but they didn't realize it's a wrong counter. But there's a spillover effect that benefited the EMTD Idea, while the Singapore one didn't have this spillover effect, right? So with this point, it can also tell you that something is not right. Okay, it's not really driven by fundamentals. It's probably really a pump and dump scheme that is going on right now, right? So be careful about that. And let's go back to the EMTD Digital, right? So you can read the mission, you can read the overview. I don't know about you. When I read it, okay, when I read this, it's very vague. Okay, it's like, what is this mission? It's a fusion reactor for best entrepreneur innovative ideas. Talking about the SpiderNet, I don't know what that is, right? It doesn't give me a good idea what is their business all about, what is their revenue model, how do they plan to deliver value to their customers or who their customers are. Okay, so it is very vague when I read this. Okay, so let's try to figure out a bit more, right, and dig a bit more. And when we go to the website EMTD Digital, the very first thing or the first company that you see that they feature under their businesses will be Airstar. It is quite impressive because it is a digital bank that is licensed in Hong Kong. Okay, and we don't know that that is a trend, right? Because Singapore has launched a digital banking license, Malaysia has done so, Hong Kong has done so. In the West, digital bank has already been around for quite many years, right? But that is the future. Okay, so this digital bank basically they don't have any physical branches. They really start off natively digital right from day one. Okay, so that is the new business model for banking solutions. So it is quite impressive, right? But then I figure out that this is not really true. EMTD Digital does not own Airstar at all. Okay, because when I look at the prospectus, I dig out their chart itself. You can, if it's not clear enough for you in this case, please head on to their prospectus. You will be able to find this image of their structure. I don't see any Airstar under the EMTD Digital structure itself. So it tells me that EMTD Digital does not own Airstar. Airstar is owned by their parent company, right? So that is why I made that statement. Airstar is not there. So it's a bit misleading to put Airstar on their website as the very first company out there. Okay, so a lot of investors may allude to that they own Airstar, but clarification, it is not. It's probably the parent company, right? And there is certain relationship I pick up from the prospectus that the Airstar relationship with this AMTD Digital is that there is an annual fee of 12.8 million Hong Kong dollars that's being paid to AMTD Digital is contracted, right? So that is the relationship. That's the first one. And the second one is that it was also mentioned if the controlling shareholder decided to sell Airstar Bank, the AMTD Digital will receive 15% of the profit generated from the sale. All right. So although they don't own, but if it is being sold, they actually have a one-time windfall out of it. So you can say that yes, there is some relationship with Airstar in this case, but it is definitely not belong to AMTD Digital, right? That is very clear. Okay. And I want to look at their financial statements as well, right, to see what their numbers look like. And something struck me as unusual is a couple of things. Okay. The first one is the revenue growth is not very fast, right? Just 3%. For a lot of all these tech companies, if you realize, if you look enough of these tech companies, young ones, they usually have very high revenue growth, right? In 30%, 40%, 50%, or even 100% in some cases, right? Their revenue growth should be fast, right? Because they want to capture the market share as quickly as possible. And that's how they focus a lot on the top line growth. But if you look at ENT Digital, it's opposite. Okay, their revenue growth is very slow, it's just 3%. And their profit is growing like 65% in a year, right? A lot of the younger tech companies, they usually don't have profits, right? They are usually making losses, okay? And they make it up with high revenue growth, right? To capture market, to go to market, okay? So this is something unusual. That's the flip side of it. And then another thing that you should note is that the profits are much higher than the revenue they generated. Okay, maybe not much higher, it's higher than the revenue generated. You must be thinking, how is that even possible? Right? It is due to the fair value gain in the financial assets that they own, right? I box it up for you, right? The red box, that is the fair value gain. So without that, actually, of course, they are unprofitable, right? And this just changes in this actually they are still profitable, just much less profitable than they are supposed to be. But this fair value gain is a bit iffy, right? Because it depends on what kind of financial assets they are talking about. If it's public equity, it is fine, right? Because it's mark to market. But if it's private assets, valuation is not done on a regular basis, right? So it is hard to tell what is the true value of the asset at any one point in time, right? Unless funding round has been done, valuation has been done. Otherwise, it's difficult to tell. Okay, so this is the bulk of the assets, and this is the bulk of the profits that's generated, right? So it looks, the statement looks more like an investment holding company than a tech company, all right? Which in the first place, the company tends to position itself as more like a tech-driven innovation, very platform-based, digital-focused. Even the name itself suggests that. But somehow the statement looks more like an investment holding company. Okay, and I also want to check their quality of earnings because they say that they have a lot of profits, right? I wanted to see how much of their profits is actually backed by cash. So that's where we use the quality of earnings. And if we compare the cash flow that's generated versus the net profit that is produced by the company, it is like less than half is backed by cash, right? In 2021, it's 48%. In 2022, for the first 10 months, it's just 18%. So the quality of earnings is very poor. It's likely a lot of paper valuation gain rather than real cash going into the company. So this is another part that is not so good, all right? Unless it is captured in the investing cash flow, okay? Because some of these investment, they may pay dividends in that sense, then their cash flow can improve as well, right? That is the low quality earning side, right? It again tells us that a lot of this revenue are not really, so it just really tell us that this quality of the statements is not as good as what it is, right? So these are some points that I want to make. And then the next thing is I want to see what's their segment revenue like. What is the the segments that's really creating revenue for EMT Digital? They have a few segments. The first segment is digital financial services, right? It comprises two companies, AMTD Risk Solutions and Policy Pal. And if we look at the revenue, it's unimpressive. It's just 1.3 million US dollars, right? And you can't really call this really a segment. It's insignificant, especially to a listed company, right? So the second one or the core revenue driver is a SpiderNet ecosystem solution. It generated 20 million US dollars, right? Again, actually, if you look at in totality, right, this amount of revenue is not size of a listed company, right? It's more like a private SME kind of size, right? So I'm quite no, surprised that this is even listed in a sense. Okay, so if we look at the and when just now SpiderNet, we saw the name, right? But we haven't know what it actually does. Later, I'll have another slide to really explain what it is or what I assume it is to be. And the third one is corporate, and that includes a lot of digital media content or even movies investment that they have made, right? So some of the companies that was mentioned was Digfin. I think it's a financial website in Hong Kong. I don't know. I've never been heard of it before. Forecast News, same. It's probably another media website. And there's other investment like Appier, Day Cook, and WeDoctor. I would say out of all these, only WeDoctor is the more prominent one. The rest are not very impressive, right? Policyfeld, I heard of it, is in Singapore, but I have not known anyone actually buy any policies from them or through them. Okay, so essentially the portfolio also don't look very impressive, right? Considering the units that they have, right? The companies that they own, as well as the investment that they have made. Next one, right? So we know that a lot of the profits are generated from the financial assets. I went to see what the financial assets is. They are, and indeed they are the private companies. As you can see, is unlisted equity securities as well as some movie rights. So all this valuation, I would say it is a bit iffy in the sense that it depends on when they did the valuation, right? Whether they have an up round, down round, and that means the valuation is not very transparent, right? Unlike public markets, okay, the pricing is a lot more reliable, right? Private equity valuation sometimes can be as old as a few years ago, right? When interest rate was lower, valuation was higher. Given now interest rate is higher, valuation may have gone down, but it has not been registered as a loss yet, right? So this is also possible. Okay, so this part we just take it as it is, right? Maybe it's true, but there's no way that we can really verify it. And this is what SpiderNet is all about. Okay, it says that AMTD serves as a super connector and digital accelerator of Asia-based entrepreneurs and corporates by connecting them to resources and technologies and providing them with access to our unique AMTD SpiderNet ecosystem. Right, what I take out from this is that I assume that this is like a subscription model where they get companies or individuals who come in and pay a subscription fee to gain access to certain high-profile entrepreneurs, businessmen, so that they can get some mentorship or what, right? So that is what I gather, or they can do certain business together, some partnership, right? That's how they make money. Okay, I may be wrong because although this is the main revenue driver for AMTD Digital, there is very little information, right? There's no screenshot of like what it does, any events for all these networking things. There isn't anything, right? So I just have to assume, right, from nothing. Okay, so and when I look at the key man, which is Dr. Kelvin Choi, right, who is running this EMTD Digital as well as with the parent company, he didn't have a very good history, right? There is this China Nation investment group, used to be his investment partner, now claims that he's defrauded them. Okay, the details, of course, we never know, right? My words against yours. But indeed, you find a lot more negative news than positive things about this Calvin Choi. And this is another one, right? Hong Kong SFC, which is the authority, has in fact want to ban Calvin Choi for 2 years from the finance industry in Hong Kong because of certain disclosure issues in the past, right? So again, you can see when they start to dig out the past of this chairman or this founder, it doesn't seem like a very trustworthy person in that sense, right? You have different parties trying to claim certain ill behavior of this particular individual, all right? So at the end of the day, if you ask me, I do think that this is a pump and dump. You look at the revenue, it's up 3%, profits is up 65%, but the share price is up 6,700% in 2 weeks. Unimpressive portfolio of companies, And that is what I think I want to warn you. All right. So I hope I've done my job and you are probably a lot clearer of this situation. So give me a thumbs up if you find this video useful, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you will not miss any good analysis like this and insights that I will provide from time to time in the markets. This is Alvin. Thank you for watching and goodbye.